Hi there and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I am going to be taking you step by step through my process of creating a design or a batch of designs that people actually want to buy. When starting your Etsy shop, this is arguably the most important thing you can learn how to do. The earlier you learn how to do this in your journey, then the faster you'll be able to get that first sale or be able to start scaling your sales. I'm Shauna, and I was a fourth grade teacher who was looking to find a side hustle so I wouldn't have to tutor every day after school just to make ends meet. I came across a video kind of like this one teaching about Etsy. So I opened an Etsy shop and connected it with a print-on-demand company. That's a company that will print and ship out your products for you. All you have to do is design the product, list them in your shop. You never actually ever have to touch the actual products. So a couple of YouTube videos later, I was moving and grooving with this new little Etsy shop of mine. And within a year and a half, I had scaled my Etsy shop to making triple times the amount of profit for a year than I was making as a full-time fourth grade school teacher. So of course, I had to quit my day job and pursue this Etsy thing full time. I am not special, and what I did is absolutely repeatable, and you can do it too. So over 30,000 orders and almost $2 million worth of revenue later, I can confidently tell you what we will be talking about today is the most important piece of the puzzle to get your Etsy shop successful. This is actually the second video in this series titled How to Start an Etsy Shop. And you can find the first one linked somewhere up here and down in the description below, which will go over some of the other important pieces of the puzzle. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through everything from niche selection through your market research to creating that batch of designs that someone is actually going to want to buy. I am choosing the niche for us to do this with today, but in the comments down below, give me a niche you'd like me to do this activity with next month. And then be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss that upcoming video. I will randomly select one of your comments and we'll use your niche to do this with next month. In the first video from this series, we discussed time management, and one of the strategies for time management we discussed was to outsource what you can. We're going to do that with our niche selection today. Instead of racking our brains and jumping into a ton of research, which is going to take us a ton of time, we're going to take the fast pass here and outsource this part of the process. You might be wondering, how do we outsource which niches we're going to be working on? A lot of your favorite content creators that are talking about Etsy have also created calendar resources. I've also created a calendar resource. We're going to use mine today. Mine's set up with lots of extra information about evergreen niches, product ideas, trends per product, professions you might consider working within. But the majority of this resource is a 12-month calendar where you are given a roadmap basically throughout the year of what niches you should be working on during what time frames you should be working on them. And for each month, we have 3 pages in this resource. One of them has a list view, one is a calendar view, and then there's another page that goes with that month with just extra tips and tricks and things that I've learned along the way to help you with the niches that I've suggested for that month. So we're going to outsource picking our niche by using this calendar. When we go to January, we see here that Easter is something we should be listing for during the month of January. We also see that it was given $4. Each niche in this resource will have between $1 and $5, showing you how profitable I believe this niche to be. And when we scroll down to the calendar view for January, we see we should be starting Easter at the beginning of January. It's listed here for January 3rd. Time is of the essence when we are building our Etsy shops. We need to make sure that we're using our time effectively because we only have so much of it. The majority of your time should be spent doing market research and creating designs based on that market research. So having a roadmap of sorts to help us choose our niches and make sure we're listing for them in the right time frames is a huge time saver. If you are interested in this calendar resource, I will leave it linked down below. Anyone purchasing it by January 31st of 2025 will be invited to a special session where we get to come together. You can ask questions, you can share your results with the calendar so far. I have just updated it, and it is the updated version that you will be purchasing. If you've already purchased it in the past, please check your email. I sent you the updated version. Please do not rebuy the calendar. I will always send out any updates I do on the calendar right to the email that you purchased it with. I also created a special 1.5 hour video resource that you will get access to when you purchase that calendar. Do keep an eye open for a future email so you get that link. I want to give everyone working with the calendar at least 30 days to interact with it. So that special session will be scheduled probably toward the beginning of March. And if you can't make the special session, I'll also email you out a link to the replay. Okay, so we've chosen our niche really quickly because we outsourced this part. Lickety split, we've finished picking our niche. But the niche that we're working in, Easter, is still quite broad. We need to niche that down. Now we could go back to the calendar resource, and in the back there's some evergreen niches or different angles that you can take with things, and there's also a list of professions. So for example, you could do Easter teacher stuff or Easter nurse stuff or Easter engineer stuff, or you could do Easter couples things or Easter family things. So this is another way you can use that resource to help you outsource kind of this decision making. We're going to go over to Etsy right now though, and we're going to choose how to niche down within Easter by doing a quick search on Etsy. I am filming this in late December, so there are not a lot of bestseller listings for me to look at and make observations from. So by all means, if you have a calendar resource like mine, you can use that to do this next part. I am going to show you how I use Etsy to do this. I'm going to do it rather quickly. I go right over to Etsy and I'm going to put Easter shirt in. Then I'm going to search by bestsellers. I'm going to see if anything pops up. Luckily for me today, I did have one listing pop up, and it was an Easter bunny kids shirt that is personalized. So since this niche is already getting traction this early in late December, it's one of the only Easter shirts that is a bestseller at the moment. Now we're going to have tons of them as we move in closer to Easter. But right now, this early in the game, it's the only one I'm seeing. I'm going to go ahead and work in this niche. So our niche is Easter. We're niching down specifically to Easter bunny kids shirts personalized with the kid's name. If you didn't love that idea, you could use Everbee. Everbee is a paid tool. They do have a free version that you could get some of this information with for free. I do use the paid version of it. And you could look a little more into listings to see if they were good sellers last year, even though they're not showing popular now or bestseller badges or 20 in the cart right now. You could look into the listing using the Everbee stats. I'll leave a link to Everbee down in the description below, and I will show you a little bit more how to do that as we dig a little more into the research part when we start to design. All right, let's take a look back at our little graphic organizer. We already chose the niche we're going to be working in. Check. We're done with that, and we outsourced that part of the process. We're breaking today's process into 5 steps, and the second step that we're going to cover right now is choosing our SEO. I think most people do this the other way around. They would be jumping into wanting to create their designs at this point, but that is not how I do it. I like to create my SEO, that's my search engine optimization phrases. Those are the phrases that customers are typing into the search bar on Etsy to find my listings. There are 2 places we're going to put these. We're going to create a block of SEO for our title, and we're going to create 13 tags that go with our listings. I think of this like the main idea of my paragraph. You write your main idea of your paragraph first, then you write all your supporting sentences. The designs here are going to be like our supporting sentences, but I need kind of a main theme to create my batch of designs. And that batch of designs are all going to go with this block of SEO. Remember, this is the second video in a 2-part series. In that first video, I share with you about time management and doing things efficiently. This is one of the ways I'm able to do that. I create my block of SEO first, and then I create a batch of designs that go with this block of SEO. I'm going to quickly cover how I came up with the block of SEO we're going to be working with today. If I move a little too quickly for you, well, that's because this isn't specifically meant to be an SEO video, but I have one where I break it down step by step. I'll leave it linked here, and I'll also leave it linked down in the description. If you're needing me to go a bit slower, I really walk you through it in that video. But to say it in a nutshell, all I've done here is I found 5 well-performing listings. I did use Everbee to help me do that. Since I didn't see a bunch of bestsellers just yet, I had to go through and look at the stats from Everbee. I was able to find those stats right under the listing. I could see how long they've been up, and I could see if they've been selling. I know they're not selling just yet for this year, so all of the sales would have been coming from last year, if, say, it said that the listing was 10 months old. So I am using Everbee to find those 3 to 5 well-performing listings. I grabbed 5 today. I always try to grab at least one of those listings from a smaller shop. I often will look at how many reviews, since I can see that right from search results without having to click into a bunch of listings. And if that shop has relatively fewer views than the other listings, I'm looking for one that has fewer. So if I find one that has only 13 or 14 reviews and they've had a listing that's done well, I'm super interested because they were able to get themselves on the map in Etsy with their SEO being a newer shop. That makes me curious. Sometimes it doesn't look like 13 or 14 reviews. Sometimes it's like 102 reviews or something like that. Maybe that's the least amount I can find during that session. But I'm just looking specifically for one that has a good bit fewer than the others that I'm looking at. If you are searching closer to Easter and you are seeing a lot of 20 in the carts when you open the listing, then that's a great indication. Since I'm not seeing a lot of those, I am relying on the Everbee stats. I also want all 5 of my listings that I'm going to be researching SEO from to be from different shops. I'll put up on screen here the 5 blocks of SEO that I collected. And I actually went back and grabbed a 6th because while I put my own block of SEO together, I was struggling a bit. And so I needed at least one more block of SEO to polish it off. I'll read my block of SEO to you here. It did wind up being exactly 140 characters, which is what you're shooting for, but sometimes it winds up being more like 137 or 138. I just happened to get it just right with this one. Using the 6 blocks of SEO that I collected from Easter kids shirts with personalized names on them that have done really well, I came up with girls Easter bunny shirt, kids Easter shirt, toddler girl Easter t-shirt, personalized name bunny kids t-shirt. Notice for the product, I used shirt, I used t-shirt without a dash, I used t-shirt with a dash. I can now go use Everbee to create my 13 tags. With Everbee, I'm able to look at these listings and what tags they have. And that helps me put my 13 tags together that I think go with the types of t-shirts that I'm going to be creating. Since I didn't use the word T-E-E, I will be sure to use that in my tags. I also didn't get a chance to use the word custom, and since all of my designs are going to have the custom name on them, I definitely want to use that. Youth was another word I didn't squeeze in there. I had toddler, I had kids, I had girls. My first batch of shirts are all going to be for girls, by the way. In fact, this first batch are going to be girl designs specifically, and they're all going to have the element of an Easter bunny on them, and they're all going to have the element of the custom name. So that is specifically what I'm looking to make. I'm going to look to make 10 to 15 designs that fit this block of SEO. Now I'll show you at the end, after I've created my designs, how I might tweak this block of SEO just a little bit to hit some of the exact trends that I'm trying to incorporate into my designs. It really only took me maybe 15 to 20 minutes to put my block of SEO together. I don't overthink this. I'm not saying that my block of SEO is the best block of SEO that was ever created, but this is how I do it. This is exactly how I do it. I take 5 or 6 blocks of SEO that are working really well, and I cherry pick the pieces out of those that I think sound good, that go with my product. I'm not worried too much about choosing something that is low competition, meaning that other sellers are not using that term, because I find for me that sometimes that starts creating a disconnect between my product or my design and, actually being like a good match for it. But I also don't create designs for broad niches. I'm in a very specific niche here with the custom name. It's a kid's shirt. It's a girl's kid's shirt with an Easter bunny on it and a custom name. Another example of that would be like, I'm going to do a 3rd grade Easter t-shirt. So I'm never doing some huge broad thing like just an Easter shirt, something that just says Easter on it, or maybe something that just says hip hop on it, or maybe some other popular Easter phrase that would be targeting any female ever. I never target that broad customer. I always target a more specific customer. Here we've got a mom buying a toddler, a girl toddler, a t-shirt with her name on it. Now that we've got our niche selection out of the way, we've got our SEO block out of the way, we're ready to do the next and 3rd step in this 5-step process. And that is, we need to do our market research. When we do our market research, we're really going to be doing market research so that we know, A, what types of mock-ups to use for our designs, and B, what types of designs we should be making. I'll quickly address the mock-up piece here in a bit, but we're going to focus on creating designs that people want to buy. And so we're going to be doing the market research that is going to help us be able to accomplish that. So this is exactly what it looks like every time I sit down to do this. Remember, we're sitting here, we're going to make 10 to 15 designs that go with our block of SEO about a toddler Easter kid shirt with their name on it. It's a girl shirt and it has an Easter bunny on it. So I'm going to go right over to Etsy and I'm going to search best sellers. I opened 3 tabs here so far. I did shirt for kids. I did Christmas kids shirt because we just passed Christmas. There's tons of bestsellers for me to research here. Also did a search of bestsellers for personalized kids shirt. Honestly, I could do a couple more tabs here. I could do girl toddler shirts since I'm addressing girls. I could do just Easter shirts. I won't have a lot of bestsellers pull up, but I could use my Everbee Chrome extension to let me know what shirts have been selling well, what kinds of designs are selling well there. But I'll just get started with these 3 searches. In order to get the best seller, you'll want to go down to star seller, and then you'll want to change in your little menu bar here from star to best. Once I have my tabs open where I want to do my research, I just start scrolling through the results. Maybe I'm going to look through the shirts for kids first. I'm going to look to see if there's anything that pops out at me that would be either a great format or design style for my custom text of my kiddo's name, kind of like this one. Maybe we do something like this with an alphabet that is very Eastery. I see here this Christmas PNG where we've got the checkered element and we've got the Christmas trees sprouting up. And I may look through numerous pages of this. This is the part of the process that I really enjoy the most. And I have a lot of fun doing this type of research. And with this broad search of kids' shirts, I could go back and get quite a few ideas, clicking back page by page. Christmas kid shirt, another great hack is to look to see what was going on at Christmas. We kind of already saw this one here. But what was going on at Christmas and then apply that to Easter. So we have another one. We've got these 3 images. They've sprinkled around this little 4-point star is quite popular. They've sprinkled in some snowflakes since it was Christmassy, and they've got 3 images. That's quite a popular format with a square down here for the kiddo's name, or a rectangle rather for the kiddo's name. I could totally Easter this up and it'd be based off great research since it's a bestseller at Christmas time. I'm going to spend some time really having some fun going through this research, and this will lead me to some additional searches. And I may just screenshot or save over to the side the items that I really like and I'm inspired by. So we've got this circle here with the checkered print behind it with the reindeer. How about I do a circle with a checkered print in it with a big Easter bunny face there and the name underneath? Perhaps my checkered print could be some combination of maybe the color orange or Eastery colors. This is really exactly what this process looks like for me. Now, I'll be back in a jiffy because I'm not going to sit here with you for the next 2.5 hours while I do this. And that is about how long it takes me to do my market research for a batch of maybe 15 designs. I really want to make sure that my designs are based on market research because that is what is going to make people want to buy them. Not only that, I want them to look trendy, but I want them to be valuable. So like in that example I was just giving you, we've got the reindeer on top of that circled checkered print. We can add value to the market by now doing an Easter version of that and doing a fun Easter bunny on that. Okay, so I'll be back in a jiffy. I'm going to grab some listings for us to base our market research on, and then we'll get to the fourth part in the process. Oh, why, hello there. I'm back. So we are going to go to the fourth part of the process. So we've done our niche selection. We did our block of SEO. Then we did our market research, and now we're going to do that batch of 10 to 15 designs that go with that block of SEO. Part 3 and 4 in this process are the parts that take the most amount of time for me to accomplish, but they are the money-making parts. A lot of times while I'm doing the market research, one of the reasons it takes, maybe 2 or 3 hours is because I like to start taking action on some of those things. Like I point out those reindeers, the circles with the reindeers in front. As I'm looking at that, instead of screenshotting it and saving it to the side, a lot of times I'll just go, oh, okay, I'm gonna design it right now. And then I always wind up with a couple to do after I've kind of finished the market research. So these two parts of the process kind of mix together. And hey, by the way, before I jump into these designs with you that I've created for this fourth part of the process, if you are enjoying this video, then you are probably the sort of person that would really get a lot of value from the Learn and Earn Academy. This is my online membership and community that we have been building for the last 6 months. We've got hundreds of students in there from all over the world. And the idea is that I am teaching you everything I have learned about how to make designs that people actually want to buy. Getting this figured out is how I have built my 6 figures in profits a year POD business. We do regular live meetings. We do workshops. You have access to me anytime in the private chat. You can communicate with the most amazing and supportive network of Etsy sellers I think I've ever had the pleasure of being surrounded with. And I regularly post guided activities to help you get better at market research, like the market research that we're going over in this video. You will also get a monthly trend report, and that is really just to mention some of the value you will find there. We're only accepting a certain number of new members each month, and that's so I can control the growth of the community, which will help me to be certain that I can provide the warm welcome and support to all the people that do join. So if that does sound like something you'd be interested in, don't forget to go down into the description to check out the link so you can head on over there. Now let's go over those designs that I created. So I've done 5 out of my batch of 10 to 15 designs. Remember, these are all going to be little girl shirts with an Easter bunny and her name on them. I am going to show you my market research listings that have done well, so that you could see why I created the design I created. I am not looking to copy anyone's design. That's not nice, and furthermore, it's not going to make me any money. The trick is to be on trend, but also add something new and valuable to the market. You already saw me kind of working one of those ideas out in that I'm borrowing a Christmas idea and bringing it over to Easter. So instead of recreating something that's already a toddler Easter shirt, I would be taking something that did well for toddlers at Christmas and creating an Easter version of that. So you're getting market research from one holiday and bringing it to a new holiday. All of the designs I'm about to show you, I created myself with elements that I downloaded or used from Creative Fabrica, which is a fantastic site with lots of fabulous graphics you can use. I do not suggest downloading an entire graphic and using it as is. I use bits and pieces of graphics or elements from bundles of graphics that I download from Creative Fabrica. It is one of my favorite subscriptions. I will leave it linked down in the description below. I'll also leave a link to the bundles that I used in the designs that I made today. So I used graphics that I got from Creative Fabrica. I also used graphics that I downloaded from Canva. And then I also used PNGs that I purchased off of Etsy from sellers that said that they were allowing us to use in POD. You can look in the description to make sure that they're allowing commercial use or POD usage. If you're uncomfortable, you can always reach out to the PNG seller and double check. Now, the reason that I had to purchase some of those PNGs, and again, I'm not purchasing a PNG and putting it as is on my shirt. It's going to be very hard for you to stand out if you do things like that. Again, this is the part of the process that's the most time consuming. It's the money-making part. You have to get good at adding value to the market. Now, one of the reasons I am purchasing some of the PNGs, and I'll show you which ones I had to purchase, is because I'm early to a trend, and I'll show you how I identified the trend. But when I'm early to a trend, usually Creative Fabrica is a couple steps behind of emerging trends that I find on Etsy. So if I want to be one of the first to hop into that trend and provide value when I'm making my Easter shirts by using that trend, sometimes I can't find what I need on Creative Fabrica or on a site like Canva, and I'm not skilled enough in design to create it myself. But I can usually find it from a clever Etsy seller who's creating PNGs and is on top of those trends and finding them just like I am. And instead of making shirts, they're making PNG files, and I'm able to purchase their PNG file and I'm able to use it. And I'm usually able to use that PNG file. I'll use it in numerous designs. So I am getting good use out of it. Now let's take a look at these designs and why I designed them the way I did. Let's take a look at this market research here. Notice the format. We've got 3 Christmas elements, the cookies, the Santa Claus, the milk, and then a rectangle underneath with the name. Here again, the 3 elements, the rectangle underneath with the name. Here again, the 3 elements, the rectangle underneath, and the name. And so I created this one here. We've got the 3 elements, the rectangle underneath, and the name. I got the chick and the bunny and the egg each as separate elements from Canva. I created my own checkered pattern, matching it with the colors of the carrot. If you'd be interested in a tutorial on that, let me know down in the comments. And then I used my niece's name, Charlotte, as the example here. Based on this market research, I would actually create several designs for my batch of 10 to 15 with this format and hitting some different trends. Here, I've incorporated just this trendy format and capitalized on this checkered print. That does really well. But notice this example here. Notice that tree in the middle. That is called a brush stroke pattern. You can also search it up by looking up words like glitter and coquette. A lot of times these images will pop up. It's become really big lately. And so I would want to be one of the first people bringing it into Easter. So perhaps I do another 3 elements here with maybe a brush stroke bunny featured there in the middle with perhaps an egg and a chick or something to the sides. Maybe even play with the leopard print that they've got going on here. Okay, moving on to the next one. This is very popular where you have an element with wrapped text like this wrapped around it. And so I use that. Again, we've got that brush stroke pattern. There's another element happening here inside this image, the Dalmatian pattern. If you're regular on this channel, you've seen me talk about this trend in other videos. And here I've got my niece's name, Kaylee, wrapping around the image. There are not a lot of bunny brushstroke things out here in late December when I'm filming this. Hopefully by the time you are watching it, you'll have some more options available to you. Not much on Creative Fabrica. Didn't really find anything on Creative Fabrica. Didn't really find anything on Canva, so I did purchase that PNG from an Etsy shop that does allow for commercial use and POD use. I'll leave it linked down below in case you wanted to pick it up to use it in one of your designs. Now, I would now go and create another design using that element. Instead of wrapping Kaylee's name around it, I would then probably not do that block like a rectangle. I would just choose a pretty font to write Kaylee's name underneath it. So far, I've shown you 2 designs I actually created and gave you 2 additional design ideas of what I would do based off the market research for this block of SEO. Here we're looking at a Christmas listing. It's reindeer peeking over names, and this was actually very, very popular. There are many listings with reindeer peeking over a name at Christmas that did really well. So let's do a bunny like that. Again, I got this bunny from Canva. I got the bow from Canva. It was a separate element. I layered it on top of this little peeking bunny. And then I created that pink checkered rectangle myself. I put my niece's name, Aubrey, on top of this one. This is very coquette. You'll find if you're not familiar with coquette, it's a very girly style. Usually lots of bows are in this style, lots of pinks. So it lends itself very well to Easter. This is another one where I wouldn't stop there. I'd probably get a couple of different peeking bunnies that are kind of peeking above, and I'd make them very, very different with different trends. Maybe one of them is the brush stroke bunny. Maybe others are more silly or funny. And that leads us into the next one because I did do another version of the peeking bunny over that kind of rectangle area. And this bunny is based off this research. Characters blowing bubbles wearing sunglasses are very popular. So here we have a gingerbread wearing heart-shaped sunglasses and blowing pink bubbles. Here we have Santa Claus, again wearing heart-shaped sunglasses and blowing a sparkly bubble. Here I have a cartoony bunny wearing sunglasses and blowing a bubble. You could probably see here that I have room to try out quite a few more bubble looks just by the research that I gave you. So bringing in more of a glittery look or more of an iridescent look to the images. Possibly trying some heart-shaped sunglasses. I could create very, very different looking peeking bunnies. I use the name Tuckerella here just to be silly. My dog's name is Tucker, and so I girled up his name. I wouldn't actually use the word Tuckerella in my mock-up photo. And in fact, a lot of times when I'm using a name in my mock-up photos, I actually go and I look up, like if I'm doing a teacher shirt, I go look up most popular last names. Johnson is one of them. I use that on purpose because why not have a couple of Miss Johnsons looking at that, right? So I would go look up here, most popular toddler female names. And those are the names that I would use in my mock-up photos. All right, so showing you that one example, but I would do several of those peeking bunnies, blowing bubbles, and sunglasses, and I'd make them all look quite different. Now, I created that kind of simple one that I just showed you with all graphics that I found in Canva. I found a bunny, I layered some sunglasses I found in there on top of that bunny, and then I layered a bubble that I found on there on top of that bunny. And he's cute, but he is not as trendy as he could be. And so we're early to the market for Easter for this type of design style. So that would have me looking to PNG shops, and there were some PNG shops that had some cute bunnies that already had Popular Now badges on their PNGs. And I would just use the top part of that bunny to kind of peek over. But they're blowing a bubble. A lot of them had like a little peace sign up and some sunglasses on. The last example that I actually created for you to look at here is based off this. This is a blue toile pattern inside of a Christmas tree, and it's quite popular, this blue toile pattern. You could also do a pink toile pattern. So my next image here is going to take these 3 blue toile bunny patterns, and I could write the name underneath. Creative Fabrica didn't have any Easter bunnies that had blue toile patterns in them, and neither did Canva. So this is another image that I did purchase off of Etsy, and I would use it in numerous designs so I could get my money's worth. But I feel that it was a good stab based off of research. I'm showing you just one listing as my research listing, but there are many listings to support that this blue toile look is quite popular, and I believe it'll do quite well at Easter. I'm quite certain it'll do very well at Easter. This is exactly what the process looks like while I'm collecting my 10 to 15 designs. An expert tip for you. Instead of creating these 15 designs and then moving on and never revisiting this niche again, I like to have what I call threads through my shop. This would be a niche that would be a thread through my shop. So I'm starting here in time, early January, late December. I'm starting to design for Easter. I can now revisit this niche. Maybe I'll pick 2 or 3 places to design and list for Easter. This is going to be one of them, and I'm going to revisit it. Maybe next week or the week after next, I'm going to do another batch of 15 girl, youth, toddler designs. Maybe they'll be specifically bunny ones, maybe not. And then maybe another week or another 2 weeks after that, I'll do another batch of 15. And then I would double down on this and continue to work this out by now doing it for 4th of July designs or St. Patrick's Day, and then maybe Halloween. And then I would do Thanksgiving and Christmas designs for this girl, toddler, personalized name type of design. That's going to do a couple things for you. It's going to help you double down in the algorithm that you're constantly feeding this particular niche. It's going to make you very good at designing in this particular niche because now you are researching this particular niche over the course of the entire year. You're also going to start getting repeat customers because the person that bought this at Valentine's Day or bought this at Christmas or bought this at Easter is now most likely going to be looking to buy another type of t-shirt like that for their kiddo at 4th of July or whatever the next holiday is. You can also get into evergreen niches like birthday shirts in this type of niche. Okay, now for the next step in this process of creating designs people actually want to buy in an efficient and time-saving way. 1, we already picked our niche. 2, we already did our SEO, our title, and our tags. 3, we did all of our market research. 4, we're doing a batch of 10 to 15 designs that go with that block of SEO that we already created. Now, I will say, as you are listing these, if you did a blue toile, then perhaps you make sure in your tag you pull something out that you already have in there to make space to put blue toile. Or if you have a bunny blowing a bubble with sunglasses, perhaps you just swap one of your phrases out so that you can also capture that for those designs that are specifically doing that. Also, actually, before we move on to the 5th step, if you are finding value from this video, if you wouldn't mind giving that like button a little hug so I know to make more content like this. And the other thing I want to mention before we get to the 5th step in this process is that when I go back to revisit this, maybe next week, and if not next week, maybe the week after that, and I do another batch of 10 to 15, if I'm starting to get traction on, let's say, the blue toile design, then my whole batch of that next 10 to 15 might focus on blue toile types of elements in my designs. Okay, so the 5th thing in this process is to list. So we're going to want to mock these up. We're going to want to put it all together. Going back to the research part of this, when you're choosing your mock-up photos for your listing, try to choose mock-up photos that you saw on bestsellers. Purchase mock-up photos. I purchased mine right off of Etsy. Purchase ones that are in the style of the ones that you see bestsellers on, or if you could find the exact mock-ups that you see a lot of bestsellers on, those would be great to add to your library of mock-ups when you're working with your toddler girl niche here. So now we take all our hard work and we mock it all up and we list them all. You've got 15 new listings in your shop. You know what, guys? If you enjoyed this video and you found value from it, then you are going to love this video here, where I break down in even more detail how to spot trends like that wrapped text one we did around that brushstroke bunny with the Dalmatian bow. And I even show you step-by-step how I use Kittl to actually create that wrapped text around your graphic. So check that out, but of course, not until after that tip from Tucker. Tucker, take it away.